So this is the turning point, wanting change versus choosing change. Today we're going to be reflecting on 2025. I'm going to share amazing successes from students that are choosing change versus wanting change. They are right now working at taking back their health and their life, and you're going to hear amazing successes, more successes than you would ever see from any type of pharmaceutical, and they are just starting. So, and then I also wanted to share some of the really big insights that we've gained this year. We've gained some huge insights in how to recover from parasites and also what types of parasites we're dealing with. So I'm going to share that with you, and then I'm going to leave you with some words of wisdom, some words of inspiration to help you, hopefully to help you to choose change versus wanting change. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha, and I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 36 years ago. By the grace of God, I learned early on that I was dealing with parasites, with infections. I didn't know which ones back in that day. Since that time, which is a very, very long time, it kind of dates how old I am, because I was 28 years old when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I thought I was a healthy person all my life, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. And the doctors gave me no hope for a cure. Not much has changed over the decades. They still don't know what causes MS. There still is no cure. There are expensive immunosuppressive drugs that have significant adverse effects, and that's not what I wanted, but I didn't know I had options. So I read books early on from medical doctors. They were written 40 years ago. They knew that infections were causing chronic disease, including multiple sclerosis. So I decided to take a different path. I decided to choose change, not to just hope for change, not just want change, not just want my life back, but I chose a different path. And it is a little scary when you do that. For my generation, we're so used to working with our doctors and they know what's best and they are the experts, but they gave me no hope for a cure. And I would have been completely, I don't even know if I'd be alive today after this many years, because it was hitting me really, really hard at the start. I lost all vision in my left eye in 3 days. I was so weak and headaches that I just was flatlined on the couch. My mom stepped in to take care of my young children. I could not take care of myself or my kids. And I cried out to God for help. It is truly miraculous, the students that we're working with, the successes that they're having. And so I'm going to share right now a few successes of people that have just joined the Live Disease Free plan. Some of them have been like 10 days, and some of them might have been a couple of weeks. There's a couple that are starting to treat, but you're going to see some patterns, and you're going to see like, oh my gosh, like just with diet, I can have that many symptom improvements already, and they're not even perfectly following the plan yet. They will. They're learning and they're implementing, and I'm giving them feedback. But I want you to see that there is real hope for you, that there is a better way, that 2026 can be your very best year that you've had in many, many years. So let's look at some of these amazing students. We call them the wellness champions. They are the leaders, they are the trailblazers, the forward thinkers, because what they're doing is that they're leading the pack. They are showing you the possibilities. And I was going to say, if you want to look at any other wellness champions that have taken our program a while ago, that have recovered, go onto our YouTube channel, Live Disease Free on YouTube, or you can go to our website, livediseasefree.com, and you can hear their voices in videos and in audios. So you can hear their experiences, the amazing successes they've had. Take some Kleenex because you will have happy tears. Let's talk about the first student. I'm going to leave them anonymous because these students are in the program right now. So the first student, he has been in the program, in the Live Disease Free plan, and we're going to talk about the insights. But number one, it is to support the body before we start treating the infections that are making us sick. If you don't know anything about Live Disease Free, make sure to watch my masterclass training after. You'll understand all the steps we take So he is prepared already and he is starting to treat. And just with one parasite drug, he noticed that he eliminated all his depression. And I shared that a week ago or so, that it was like life-changing for him. He's like, I am so happy. I've been on antidepressant medication, dealing with depression for years, no longer have that issue. And then he just shared that his insomnia has resolved. He can sleep like a baby now. And he said he can't even remember when he had a good sleep before, because a lot of us have had these parasites for years. So this is the first time in his life that he can actually go to bed and sleep like a baby. Number 2 student, she's just following the Live Disease-Free diet, and she's starting to do the enemas, the oxidizing enemas, where we're using an oxygen liquid substance in water to help to treat parasites in the large intestine. It won't be enough to get rid of all the parasites because many of them live in the small intestine. But what she shared is just with diet and starting the enemas, that her walking endurance has improved tremendously from only being able to take 10 steps now to doing 30 to 40 steps at a time. She hasn't treated the parasites yet. She's just getting ready to treat. Also, her bladder urgency has improved tremendously. She was going to the bathroom every hour. Now it's like 2 or 3 hours that she has to go. So that's huge. Her leg spasticity was severe before, and it has decreased significantly. She also has shared that temperature changes no longer trigger her spasticity, and her balance is starting to improve. What drug could help us to have this many symptom improvements? There is none, right? I mean, you could take a very strong steroid, immunosuppressive drug that over time is going to start to dampen symptoms, but it's just a Band-Aid and it is not treating the root cause. So this is natural. This is making them feel better, and it's so incredibly exciting. We had our call yesterday. So this is literally the call that we had yesterday. I'm just giving you the highlights of some of the amazing successes that were shared. Another student shared, she said, I'm feeling much more positive. So a lot of them have depression, not just because they're sick, but the toxins from these parasites cause a lot of depression and anxiety. So also she shared that she's less anxious and she's a lot more positive, and her blood sugar is noticeably more stable. And so they're getting ready to treat. They're going to have much greater symptom improvements when they start treating, but a lot of them are literally just getting ready to treat. Another student has been passing very large roundworms using the oxidizing enema. And she noticed that when she's passing them, she has a huge surge in energy. Her energy increases significantly. Also, her brain function, the foggy head improves. She has a lot more mental clarity, which is amazing. The next student, she had a lot of itchiness, like she was really, really itchy before she started the program. And she's noticed that is really starting to settle down as she is getting ready to treat. So she's just doing the diet and supporting the body like this. We have a whole checklist where we support the body. Daily bowel movements, getting enough sleep, getting our carbs low to make the parasites less active. And then she's starting the oxidizing enemas also. She's also found that her hot flashes and night sweats have greatly reduced. A lot of women think that those are caused by hormones. And what we have found and what the research is showing is that they are not caused by hormones. They are caused by different types of infections in our body. So a disruption to our microbiome. And when we treat these microbes, even making them more quiet with diet, we notice that these day sweats and night sweats and all these things we thought were hormonal, they start to go away. So that's exciting. This is all part of the prep phase. And she said overall, her symptom load has decreased. Her leg cramps, that is part of the parasites. They cause leg cramps when we have them, but also when we're treating them. And we can really minimize that with different just electrolytes and trace minerals. And also you can use some certain leg cramp creams, and that helps. But as soon as the parasites are being treated, those cramps go away. The spasticity is resolved. We see this over and over again. And she said she feels so relieved because those day sweats and night sweats, they really made her concerned that she could be at risk for having cancer. The next student is dealing not just with multiple sclerosis. So our students, a lot of them have MS, but she has MS, diabetes, and Lyme disease. And when you have that many conditions and her husband also has disability, life is hard, right? And sometimes, you've been dealing with it for years and years, and it's just like the motivation just gets burnt out of us because life is so hard. So I had the intro call with her and she got all excited and she's just revisiting her dreams and her goals, because a lot of us stop dreaming. We just don't think it's possible. But then when you see that there is a cause for why you're sick, and then you start to even getting ready to treat, you don't have to wait until you're treating before you start feeling better. You can start feeling better even just by changing your diet. And I'm saying noticeably better, what all these students are sharing. So just with a week of starting to change her diet, following our Live Disease-Free diet, her blood sugars are much more stable. So yes, this diet does work for diabetes, for any kind of condition. Of course, you have to listen to your body and you have to make sure to avoid things that don't agree with you and work. Sometimes we have to change things slowly, transition. But her blood sugar is starting to stabilize and she's noticing that she has a lot more energy. She's able to do more with her family. And she's super excited and she's committed, right? She's committed to following the plan, to taking back her life, to bringing change, not wanting change. So she's committed to change, which is awesome. The next student, she's been sick for a long time and she joined our program and she worked with a really wonderful doctor that I know that he treats parasites, but he goes really hard. He doesn't really believe in the prep phase very much. So it just didn't work for her. She ended up having heart issues and because you have to know what you're doing when you treat a parasitic infestation. You can't go gangbusters on it because the parasites will react and you can have other kinds of symptoms. So she found us and she's starting to follow the plan. She is going to treat, but she's first getting ready to treat, and then she's going to be building her treatment plan, and then she's going to be introducing things slowly as tolerated. She shared that she said, I feel the best that I felt in a very long time. And this is just getting ready to treat. So improved executive functioning and alertness, improvement in when she's adding the oxidizing enemas, also recognizing key elements were missing when she was working with that other practitioner, and also the amount of money that she spent. We can spend thousands of dollars on testing and on different injections, so many different things. We can spend $100,000 to $300,000 on our health, and this is where if you don't know what's really helpful and what isn't helpful, it can be a huge waste of money. So when you learn this skill, then you know what's helpful. Certain supplements are, but very few. A little bit of certain tests are helpful. So just a comprehensive panel, right, of blood work, and not to spend $10,000 on blood because the tests are not giving us enough meaningful information. That's a problem. It would be great if we could do a parasite test and we would know exactly what we were dealing with, but that is just not the case. So it is you can save literally, some students have spent $100,000 to $300,000 on their health and they're still sick. The next student shared that her constipation has greatly improved after passing some large parasites. Again, with these oxidizing enemas, changing her diet, she's been able to reduce supplements to encourage daily bowel movements. So a lot of our students have either constipation, most of them do, or some of them may have diarrhea when they start, or incontinence. And so for her, with the constipation, just by doing the diet and starting to use enemas, she's passed enough worms that she's noticing that she needs a lot less of the supplement to have daily bowel movements. That's pretty exciting. She's sleeping almost 8 hours most nights. Her bladder control has been restored. No daytime accidents anymore. One of the first symptoms that we see that improves with low carb diet, with our Live Disease-Free low carb diet, is that bladder function improves tremendously. So people that were getting up 5 or 6 times throughout the night, they decrease their carbs, and literally within even a week, they're like, wow, I'm only getting up once or twice versus 5 or 6 times. The infections are still there, but they're a lot less active. The inflammation starts to go down, and that's one of the very first symptoms that improve. So she also shared that her energy and her confidence are strong enough for her to accept a teaching job next month. Isn't that amazing? So she hasn't even treated well enough, but just with all of the prep phase, she's actually able to go back to work, which is amazing. And then she shared that, so when our students are ready to treat, then they can start bringing in some herbs, even raw garlic. This is all for educational purposes. This is not for you because I don't know anything about you. Just know that garlic is a blood thinner. And if you're on a blood thinner, it might be too much for you. But just with the diet and raw garlic supplementing, and then also the oxidizing enemas, that has allowed her to start passing really big worms and has really helped her to start feeling better. So the raw garlic can be help. It's not going to cure our disease. It's not going to be enough on its own, but it is one of the very, very helpful superfood, herbs, etc. This next student is really, really sick. She has all kinds of health issues, and just 3 days into the Live Disease-Free diet, she shared that her weak, heavy legs, they were resolved within 3 days of following the Live Disease-Free diet by getting her carbs down. So it was hard for her even to get around the house because her legs felt so weak and so heavy. And just 3 days on the diet, gone, like amazing. And then she said even 2 weeks later, they're still gone. Her legs still feel normal. They're not normal yet. Like she can't do a lot of physical activity yet, but just even to be moving around the house quickly for her is a huge deal. This is getting ready to treat. These are wellness champions that are choosing change. They're not just wanting change, but they're choosing change. They're making it happen even before the start of the new year. And she's feeling so much more happy and hopeful because she's starting to feel, she said, close to normal again. She's got work ahead of her, but isn't it wonderful that we can start a plan like this and we do not have to wait until we're like the parasite drugs are not a magic cure. They're helpful, but they are not a magic cure. All right, so she's sleeping through the night, less pain, less leg weakness, and she hasn't even started the oxidizing enemas yet. Just a couple more students here, but this is what I have every week. You can be part of this amazing team of, I call them the leaders, the trailblazers, and you're going to hear more and more. I have thousands of pictures of worms, and yes, they are passing, many of them, hundreds of worms, not like 5 or 10, but hundreds. Depending on how sick they are, they usually have a lot. Next student, just in 10 days, he said, my energy has improved just on the diet. I'm no longer exhausted later in the day. I'm sleeping better, and the leg stiffness is continuing to improve. I don't think he hasn't even started the oxidizing enemas yet, just literally diet. And I think this is the last 2 more students here. This next student is passing multiple worms and biofilm, and he's seeing a clear pattern, and we see this very often, that if we do an oxidizing enema, then that enema, if there is a worm that is touching the oxygen liquid, it will kill the worm. And so we might feel really good when we do the enema, but then a few hours later, we notice that we just don't feel as well. So he said there's a clear pattern of symptoms a little worse before passing the parasites with the second enema. But then as soon as he passes the worms, immediate improvement. We see this all the time. So what happens is the worms are dying and the immune system then recognizes them. They're not blind to the immune system anymore because these parasites have lots of ways to make themselves blind to the immune system. So when they're dying, the immune system is like, oh my gosh, what is that? And they go after it. So that's what you're feeling. You're feeling the war of your immune system going after the parasites. But then as soon as you flush it out, You can see them and they take pictures, they put a ruler beside it. But as soon as it's flushed out of your body, that the symptoms are gone. So that's why we know that large worms are a really big part of chronic disease. Really big. Like we did not know this 7 years ago, but boy, do we know this now. One instance with his fatigue, it dropped from a 9 down to a 3. So out of 10, like where 10 out of 10 is extreme fatigue, he was at a 9, and then he passed a worm and the fatigue went down to a 3. And it literally is like you do an enema, and if the worm comes out and it's dead, it's like that's how quickly things can change. And we see this over and over again. The last student I wanted to share is that this student, she's in the program, she supported the body, she was ready to treat, and then she got energy testing that wasn't very helpful for her. So this is like kind of like an option we can use because we don't have good stool tests. And so when she had that, she took the treatments that practitioner recommended, but she wasn't really getting better. So now she's shifted and she's introducing parasite drugs to treat flatworms, which that practitioner said, no, you don't test well for. And now she's starting to pass worms. And she shared that she passed 3 worms and noticed that after passing them, a significant improvement in her mobility. Totally, which this is what we see all the time. Does that mean she's totally cured? No, like maybe she still has another 200 worms in her, but when you start removing this load and you're passing them, when you see such an immediate change in your symptoms, like mobility improving so quickly, and these are in your large intestine that you're flushing out, most of them like to live in the small intestine, which we cannot reach with an oxidizing enema, but just huge. So she had immediate functional improvement just by passing 3 worms. So these are not isolated stories. These are things that I see every week. And most of these students are just in the early stages. They chose to take their health and their life back. They're not going to follow the same pattern or the same the standard of care that does not offer them recovery. They're choosing recovery. It takes work, but you need a plan, you need support, you need to have a proven plan, or else you can spend a lot of money going from practitioner to practitioner and doing all these testing, taking tons of supplements. And we love the herbs, but by themselves, they're not enough. So you need to work with a practitioner that understands the parasite drugs and will know how to treat effectively and to recognize what parasites you're dealing with. Let's talk about the top insights for 2025. Number 1, what's really unique about the Live Disease-Free plan is how important it is to prepare to treat, to decrease as much inflammation as possible with the diet and also like low carb diet, the Live Disease-Free diet, and supporting the body. When you do that, you tolerate the treatments, you tolerate like being able to take multiple treatments together, to treat more aggressively, to recover more quickly. It's a much more pleasant experience. If you have a lot of very large flukes or roundworms or tapeworms, and you just start treating when you're feeding them a lot, it's not a pleasant experience. But when you actually do the work of just supporting the body and you're like those students I just shared and you're feeling so much better, you're having daily bowel movements, you're sleeping well, your carbs are low, and you're having all those symptom improvements, then you can start to really tackle those parasites and you will tolerate the treatments. And they're not easy to treat when we have chronic disease or we're trying to get a diagnosis because we have a lot of scary symptoms and we believe that something serious is going on. Then we have a parasitic infestation. We have a very significant amount of parasites, and the parasite drugs are not a magic cure. The herbs are not a magic cure by themselves. The oxidizing agent is not a magic cure, but combined with strategy, and that was one of the 10 key points, is that you need strategy. There are a lot of practitioners that are just recommending like 2 parasite drugs. I'm not going to say the names of them, but like everybody's on the bandwagon with these 2 parasite drugs. And it is more than likely not what you need to recover. It's like, what is your goal? Is your goal recovery, or is your goal to just kind of haphazardly just trial and error for years and years? You're going to spend the money, you're going to spend the time, you're going to still suffer. Why not follow a plan where you recover as quickly as possible? Number 2, these parasites cause huge shifts in our emotions, in hormonal, like what we think are hormonal systems, and in neurological symptoms. And so these are all like biological. It's not just your hormones that are off, it is the parasites that are affecting symptoms. So they fluctuate, their activity fluctuates with changes in your hormones. When you're treating them, you can notice that you feel a little bit more sad. Not everybody does, but we see that. But also when you're getting ready to treat, I shared with a lot of students how they're feeling a lot more happy because they're getting the toxins down. They don't have as much depression. They're coming off their antidepressants. This is a process that we have a lot of skill at. We really understand, like when you're treating, like what to expect, how to minimize Herxheimer reactions, how to really make it so that you can continue to live while you're treating and just feel better and better. And so we have to recognize that they are causing the neurological symptoms, and they're causing what we think are hormonal symptoms, and even the depression and the anxiety. Muscle spasms. Parasites cause the muscle spasms directly and indirectly. And so when we have chronic disease, very often we get these muscle twitches starting off with, and we might get these Charlie horses. In time, it becomes what we call spasticity. And that can be resolved when you treat the parasites. So the stiffness, the pain, all of that can go away as you treat the parasites. But it does require, it's really helpful to support the body with electrolytes and trace minerals while you're doing the treating, because they can cause disruptions to your electrolytes. Indirectly and directly, they are going to cause the spasms. Number 4, symptoms can improve rapidly when we're passing worms. So this is quite shocking. And it's not just the worms, but when we're treating, let's say if we have Lyme disease and we are actually treating the infections in the correct order from large to small, sometimes it's even fungus. And fungus, that's one of the points, is like, we can't forget that we need to treat fungus, because it is really, we've had one student that was really passing a lot of flukes and some roundworms, improving tremendously, then really hitting the Lyme infections with some, really targeted herbal tinctures, just doing better and better and better. But then looking at we have this infection survey, and was just like, you still have a lot of fungus symptoms. Are you treating fungus well enough? And he wasn't. And now he's starting to treat that. And it's kind of like, my goodness, it's another huge shift. So between this and just the remnants of the parasitic worms and the Lyme infections, he's had this for basically his whole life. He's been dealing with all kinds of symptoms, like since he was young. So it's so incredibly exciting to think like, wow, like this is a whole new phase of my life that I never felt this good. I never thought I could feel this good. So symptoms can improve really rapidly when we are passing worms. And of course, we could be passing smaller microbes that we cannot see with the naked eye. Number 5, MS is increasingly scientifically being recognized as a vascular disorder, not an autoimmune disorder. So they have not found the autoantigen, but even whatever they call autoantigens in any other type of autoimmune disease, the doctors that I follow, they say you can't have a condition that is called an autoimmune disease if there is no infection present. That's the key. If your microbiome is totally in balance, there is no such thing as autoimmunity. And I believe that 100%, because how could we recover from all of these different, like one of the students I shared today, her partner had really bad eczema for 5 years. It's gone. Like he's just starting with the oxidizing, like the diet, supporting the body, and using the enemas and using herbs, and he has no more eczema. And sometimes that can be really painful, burning, bleeding. He's had it really bad for 5 years, it's completely gone. So it doesn't matter what autoimmune they call it, it is linked with parasites. And with multiple sclerosis, that is so significant that they are considering it a vascular disorder. The actual McDonald 2024 criteria has made that distinction in their new criteria. They've said that with the lesions, there is a blood vessel in the center. And I've shared lots of information about that. I'm not going to talk about that here, but how they feel like the research is showing that there's something wrong with our blood vessels. And gee, I wonder if it could be parasites that are infecting our red blood cells, causing them to be sticky. There's a huge amount of science behind this. And I think that the McDonald criteria, they've kind of had to mention it because it's kind of like with all this research coming out, if they don't say something, it looks really bad on them. But they're not giving it a lot of attention yet. But the research will continue. So that's really exciting because that really helps us to move in the direction of cause and cure, right? And when I say cure, it's recovery, because you're never going to totally sterilize your body of these parasites in this world. They're everywhere, but you can reduce their presence in your body so that you feel healthy and you have an amazing life, and you can manage that for the rest of your life. So now, 36 years later, I am still MS free. I have 8 grandchildren. I've got animals. I'm outside. I love the outdoors. I can do whatever I want to do. And that is because I'm not perfect, but I have learned well enough how to manage the microbes that are living in my body. And that is a skill that you have to learn. You want to use that skill to recover. And then after that, you want to use it to stay healthy so that you can have a long, healthy, and happy life. The next one is that recovery from a parasitic infestation requires a strategic approach and multi-layered plan. So this is the Live Disease-Free plan. If you want to learn about the steps that we take to recover, make sure to watch my masterclass training. I'm not going to go into the details here, but if you don't support the body, you're not going to clear the parasites. If you don't treat long enough, you got to treat from big to small. You have to use effective treatments. That is the problem. A lot of people are just winging it. Like, I'll just use these herbs, or I'll just try this parasite drug. It's not that easy. If it was, I would write a book and we would cure the world. It's not that easy, and that's the problem. They are very hardy. They are very happy in your body. They have a lot of food. It's moist. It's warm. There's a lot of nutrition for them. And your digestive tract is approximately the size of a double tennis court. That's a surface area, right? And that's a lot of surface area. You can have a lot of parasites in that area. So then you think about your intestines are like squished into your abdominal cavity. And so when you're taking a treatment like a little pill or even a couple little pills, they're not going to reach every nook and cranny. You're not going to reach all of the eggs and the larvae under biofilm. So it takes multiple treatment cycles. And that leads to the next point I wanted to share is that it is very dangerous to undertreat. So when you are, treating and you go through our plan, and you recover, then it's really important to make sure you don't just go, oh, I'm all good now. I've got all the parasites out of my body. No, you've decreased their presence in your body well enough that you feel symptom free. But instead of treating like monthly cycles, then maybe stretch it out every 2 months. And then every 3 months, and then maybe for a while, treat 3 or 4 times a year. And then if you're just not noticing any worms and you're just really thriving, then maybe you might just treat twice a year, depending on how much exposure you have to the parasites. So we're all exposed to parasites, but maybe you're working in the soil a lot. Maybe you have a lot of animals in your life. Maybe you travel a lot. You don't even have to. And the thing is that we have parasites in every country. It's just that we have our water filtered, right? And so we shouldn't be drinking raw water, but sometimes in other countries you might get water that is not filtered well, and then you could get sick from that. So the key is that we really need to treat well enough. And then, just as I shared a couple of weeks ago with Tracy, one of our students, it's amazing how she's like texting me on her bike and exercising. She was bedridden. She's 70 years old. So if you think you're too old, you're not too old. She was bedridden and she treated. It took her 18 months to be not noticing any more worms. Make sure to type your questions in the question box. Our team will answer them. If I have enough time, I will also. One drug is not effective to recover from flukes or from roundworms or from tapeworms. So what we do is we use this general protocol, and then we also see what we're releasing as far as the worms, and that really helps us to hone into which are going to be the most effective treatment. So even if a person is passing flukes, just taking one medication for flukes is not going to cure you from flukes, unfortunately, because one med might just treat the adult form of the flukes, but not the larva and not the eggs. So, and they're not totally 100% effective. So it is really important to use like a strategic, it usually is like going to be 3 or 4 for treating specific parasites. That will be a much more effective killing effect to treat the different life cycle parts of the parasites. We talked about fungus still matters and flukes. So this has been a really big eye-opener for me, but the more students that are taking our program, the more that we're seeing that flukes are really common parasitic worms that are linked with chronic disease. Very, very common. They are so pro-inflammatory. They cause a lot of inflammation in the body. They cause edema. They're just nasty. I think they're more challenging to treat, to recover from. And so this has been a really big eye-opener because even in university, we had very, very little study on flukes. It would be more like roundworms or tapeworms. And then it's always like, oh, well, the flukes are just, you have to go to like another country and it's going to be in like water plants. And it's like, no, they're in our lake in British Columbia, Canada. They're in all the lakes. And there's different kinds. There's little blood flukes, which cause schistosomiasis. There's pancreas flukes, there's liver flukes, there's large intestinal flukes. And yeah, our students are passing. Sometimes they have more than one type of fluke also. So we're seeing that they're really linked with neurological diseases. They're linked with cancer. They are just brutal. All right, so we have covered all of the 10 greatest insights. We have a lot more insights that we've had in 2025. If you have not seen our work, make sure to go to livediseasefree.com. You will see that our blog, and just scan the titles and just start to scan my notes over the holidays if you want, or you can watch the videos, put them on while you're cooking or while you're driving or while you're going for a walk, whatever. But just start to learn and start to go, like I've got so many pictures of different types of worms our students are passing. We have all the success stories. I have so much research. This is all for you so that you understand why you're feeling so lousy. So how are you going to end this year? How are you going to end 2025? Are you going to want recovery or are you going to choose recovery? You're the only one who can make that choice. What is it going to cost you if you don't choose recovery? Think about that. Like I know with chronic disease with my students, like they end up in care homes eventually. They have to get their homes set up so that they can handle a wheelchair. That's really their vehicle so they can handle wheels. They lose their independence. They can't drive. They can't play with their kids or their grandkids. They can't even go for walks. They don't even want to leave the home because when they leave their home, their bladder urgency, like they have to find a bathroom really quickly. So it completely robs us of our life. And what is your life worth to you? Like, look into this, please, because this is your answer. Multiple sclerosis and chronic disease, the biggest cause of all chronic disease are different types of parasites. And parasites are any microbe that lives in you and causes you harm. That can be worms and protozoa and bacteria and fungi. So there are many different types. So think of it more like a weedy garden where you're not going to just have one type of weed in your garden. You have all kinds of different types of weeds, and that's what's living inside of you. And they don't just stay in your intestines. They move into your blood, they cause leaky gut. Once they're in your blood, then they start, especially the larvae, they move into your tissue. They can cause cysts. They move into your brain. They cross the blood-brain barrier. They can cause cysts in the brain also. And that is why we're so sick, is that it's not just in our gut. They have moved into different parts of our body and into the central nervous system. So the key is that number one is to just look into this. Make sure that you see the possibilities for you, to think, man, I've never looked at this approach. I didn't realize how big this is. I didn't realize all the research and all the successes. There are literally thousands of people that we have served. So look into it, build up your belief system. And if you are ready to choose change, it is not too late to finish off this year and start like where everyone else in January is going to be like, oh, I put on 10 pounds. I feel so much worse. I talked last week about how it's statistically shown there are a lot more flares over the holidays. You don't have to have a flare. You can actually be like these students, the wellness champions that are actually moving forward, and they're going to start the new year running to the life that they want. So once they're in momentum, you want to stay in momentum. As they're having these improvements, you stay, because that's what motivates you. That's what excites you. It gives you hope that there is a future, that you can start within a short period of time, starting to do the things that you love to do again. This is a proven plan. It is not theoretical. It is not something that we hope for. This plan works. It is the most strategic plan in the world. I work with people in many different countries. I'm very aware of what is being promoted with different types of therapeutics. And this is the most cost-effective way to recover from parasites and to allow your body to just work normally. So there are so many treatments you can spend thousands of dollars on that are going to be like overriding your immune system, overriding how your body functions. And it's like, we're not that good. Humans are not that good. Your body is a total miracle. It knows how to detox. The immune system is there to protect you from infection. Yes, the microbes are out of balance. Your immune system needs support. But when you restore enough balance, your immune system can just go back to doing what it is supposed to do. These are the big lies that we've been told for decades, that our immune system is attacking our tissue for no reason, that our immune system is not intelligent. It is very intelligent. Our hormones are out of balance. No, our hormones are not out of balance. Our hormones, when we have shifts in our hormones, the parasites will be more active at certain times of the month than others. Yes, support your hormones with nutrition so that your body can build the hormones it needs, but our bodies have been intelligently designed by a creator. Like when I was in university, my cell biology teacher, he's like, Pam, and to the class, this is what we know today. Things are going to change because we really don't know a lot yet. And that is still the case, is that we know some information, but we can never replace the amazing functioning of our body. It's just beautiful. And so when you support it, you can go a long ways. And sure, there could be some therapies that are helpful, but so much of it can be done cost effectively with minimal tests, minimal supplements. Get ready to treat as quickly as you can and just start to treat. And of course, build back your microbiome. We do that in the program. Exercise, activity is good, managing stress. So all of these things are important, holistic, but there are so many things that theoretically could be helpful, but they're not. And so if you spend a bunch of money on it, you'll find that you're still basically in the same place. And then you will come back later and go, okay, that didn't work. Now I'm ready to treat the root cause. So with a Live Disease-Free plan, we are treating the root cause. So just don't wait with your health. Give yourself the gift of health. Make sure to reach out, watch my masterclass training. And then if you feel that this is the direction you need to go, then you can fill out the form You can book a time to chat with me even before the end of the year here. And then from there, you can begin and you can join these wellness champions, this amazing team of leaders, and start to build momentum even before the end of the year. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you in 2026. It has been such an honor to serve you, to share all the insights, the research, the successes. If you appreciate what I share, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps to get this out to other people. And until next year, we will talk to you soon and take care and bye-bye for now.